Good afternoon. Let us now get the derivative of exponential function. So if the given function is, for example, e raised to the x power, please take note that its derivative f prime of x is itself. You have to remember this one. Alright, so let's have the first example. If, for instance, f of x is equal to negative 3x to the fifth power e to the x plus 5 e to the x power. But before we proceed, let us first analyze what's the given function. So in here we have two terms. We have the negative 3x to the fifth times e to the x plus 5e to the x power. So we will be applying the sum and difference rule. Also, in this first term, it is a product of two factors. One is a polynomial. To be specific, we have monomial, and the other one is, of course, the exponential function e to the x. So we can use the product rule, and of course including the rule of a power. Next here, we can use the constant multiple rule by getting the derivative of e to the x and then multiply it with 5. Okay, so let's start. So this is f prime of x. Of course, you can use other derivative notation like dy over dx and the rest of the notations. So equals, so this is parenthesis, we will apply the product rule. So we have here the first factor, negative 3x to the fifth times the derivative of the second factor e to the x plus e to the x, we go back, derivative of negative 3x to the fifth power. Let me reiterate this, that when you are using d over dx here, you're supposed to write what is given, not the derivative already. Okay, so this is plus this one 5 times the derivative of times the derivative of e to the x power. Okay, so this is negative 3x to the fifth, so we copy it, and the derivative of e to the x is still e to the x. Okay, and then plus e to the x. Now get the derivative of this. So this is negative 15x to the fourth. Remember, we multiply 5 times negative 3 and then we subtract 1 from the exponent. So that's the derivative of that. And then plus 5, and the derivative of e to the x is e to the x. So you can see nothing changes with 5 e to the x power. Okay, now we simplify by combining. So this is negative 3x to the fifth times e to the x. Now when we are writing these two kinds of polynomial, these two kinds of functions, we start with the polynomial function. So we write negative 3x to the fifth followed by e to the x. This is e to the x times negative 15. So negative times a positive here, so the answer is negative. We write 15 x to the fourth followed by e to the x power. I hope you can follow. And then plus this 5e to the x power. Right? Now we look at the final answer. We will be looking at terms or similar terms in this case. But in here, this is negative 3x to the fifth. There is no other term where the exponent is the fifth power. Okay, so this will be our final answer. Okay, let's just put it in a box. Kayang-kaya itong intindihin ng mga STEM students ng perpetual Kalamba. Magagaling mo ngayon. Okay? Okay, let's have another example. Okay, suppose we have negative 4 f of x equals negative 4x square e to the x plus 5x e to the x, and then we have minus 10 e to the x power. Okay, so what would be our solution here? Same thing, we'll apply the sum and difference rule, the product rule, power rule, and of course the constant multiple rule. Okay, so dy over dx equals for a while, so this is negative 4x squared times the derivative of e to the x, and then we have plus e to the x. We get the derivative of the first factor. Okay, simple, right? Okay, next is we move on to positive 5x e to the x. So this is plus, same thing, product rule, 5x, then get the derivative of e to the x plus e to the x, multiplied it with the derivative of 5x. Just follow the procedure and you'll get hang of it. And then we have negative 10e, so this is minus 10 derivative of e to the x. Alright, so if we multiply, so this is negative 4x squared times the derivative is e to the x. Next is plus e to the x, and the derivative of this is negative 8x. Okay, then here this is plus, this is 5x multiply it with e to the x, that's the derivative, plus e to the x, this one, and the derivative of 5x is 5. And then lastly we have negative 10 times the derivative of ex is still e to the x power. Now we simplify. So this is negative 4x squared times ex is, oh sorry, negative 4x square ex, this is negative 8x ex, then we have plus, this is 5x e to the x, and this one is plus 5 e to the x, and this is negative 10 e to the x. Now there are similar terms, right? This and this one. Why are they similar? Because they have the same, a similar polynomial function, same variable, same exponent. Also here, same constant, and of course we have the same exponential function. So we combine. So the derivative of the function is equal to negative 4x squared e to the x. When you combine these two, this is negative 8 plus 5, that's a negative 3. Copy x and copy e to the x. Here, positive 5 minus 10 is negative 5. So this is negative 5 e to the x power. So what can you say? It's not that hard, right? It's basic. So this is how you get the derivative of exponential function. Okay, bye.